Have you ever opened your phone just to check a single notification, and then, an hour later, you're still scrolling, lost in a sea of perfect lives, highlight reels, and endless videos? You tell yourself, just one more post, but each swipe pulls you deeper into envy, anxiety, and the quiet feeling that you're somehow falling behind. Social media promised connection. It promised friendship, belonging, and a voice for everyone. But what it really gave us was comparison. We compare our mornings to someone's vacation, our struggles to someone's success, our real life to someone's carefully filtered illusion. And the result? We don't feel connected. We feel empty. We don't feel seen. We feel invisible. We don't feel inspired. We feel less than. It's strange, isn't it? A tool built to bring us together has quietly divided us from each other and from ourselves. If you've ever felt your peace slipping away with every scroll, if you've ever noticed your mood sinking after spending time online, then what you're feeling isn't weakness. It's the very real cost of living in an age designed to capture your attention and sell it back to you. But what if there was another way to live? A way to use technology without letting it use you? A way to scroll without losing your soul? 2,000 years ago, long before social media existed, the Stoic philosophers already saw this danger. They warned against distraction, envy, and living for the crowd. They taught a way to live with focus, purpose, and peace, no matter how noisy the world becomes. And today, in a world full of noise, their wisdom is more important than ever. Part 1. We wake up, and before our feet even touch the floor, our thumbs start moving. The first thing we see each morning isn't the sky or a loved one's face. It's a glowing screen. And in that moment, we hand over the most precious thing we have, our attention. Every scroll, every click, every view, they're all designed to keep us hooked. Not because we're weak, but because the system was built that way. Algorithms learn what we crave: anger, pleasure, novelty, and feed it to us, second after second, like small doses of digital dopamine. First, it feels harmless. Just entertainment, just a way to stay connected. But gradually, the balance shifts. You start comparing your quiet mornings to someone else's tropical getaway, your hard work to someone else's overnight success, your real, messy life to the curated highlight reel of strangers you'll never meet. And you start to feel behind, not good enough, like everyone else has it figured out, except you. It's not just comparison, it's exhaustion. We scroll through hundreds of opinions, arguments, and microdramas before breakfast. Our minds are overstimulated, yet empty. We consume so much, but process so little. The Stoics had a word for this kind of chaos: distraction. They warned that distraction is the first step toward losing control of your mind. Seneca once wrote, "To be everywhere is to be nowhere." And that's exactly what social media does. It scatters our minds into 1,000 fragments. We're everywhere and nowhere at once. Half in our conversations, half in our phones. Half living, half observing. The constant flood of content tricks us into thinking we're connected. But what's really happening is that we're being pulled further away from ourselves. Behind every scroll is a small hit of dopamine, a burst of temporary pleasure. And soon, we're no longer choosing what to watch. The algorithm is choosing for us. We've become users in the truest sense, used by the system we thought we controlled. And while our fingers keep moving, our inner peace starts slipping away. You may have noticed it, that restless feeling after a long scrolling session. That strange emptiness when you put the phone down. That anxiety that comes when you're not online. Like you're missing something. That's not coincidence. It's conditioning. Every time you refresh your feed, your brain expects a reward. A like, a comment, something new. When nothing appears, you feel a small sense of loss. So you scroll again, and again, and again, until hours have vanished. Time you could have spent reading, walking, thinking, or simply being. Moments that could have been filled with peace are now traded for pixels. Social media has turned silence into discomfort, solitude into loneliness, and presence into distraction. We are no longer bored, and that's dangerous. Because boredom used to be the space where creativity lived, where reflection happened, where ideas were born. Now that space is gone, filled with endless noise. And when your mind is constantly filled with noise, peace has nowhere to live. This is the hidden cost of our modern world. The cost of convenience, connection, and constant stimulation. It's not that social media is evil. It's just indifferent, designed to hold your attention, not to heal your soul. And unless you take control of it, it will quietly take control of you. So how do we reclaim our attention and our peace? How do we live in a connected world without becoming slaves to it? Part 2. The Stoic Solution. 2,000 years ago, long before smartphones, notifications, and digital addiction, there were philosophers who faced the same internal battle we face today. No, they didn't have social media, but they understood something timeless: the danger of distraction and the importance of guarding one's attention. They were called the Stoics: Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Epictetus, and though they lived centuries apart, their wisdom still feels like it was written for us, right here, right now. 1. The Ancient Warning. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor, spent much of his life surrounded by politics, war, and chaos. And yet, in his personal journal, now known as Meditations, he wrote words that sound like they were written for the digital age. The things you think about determine the quality of your mind. Imagine if Marcus lived today. He'd probably look at us. Eyes glued to screens, attention scattered, emotions hijacked by headlines, and he'd remind us, guard your mind because everything begins there. Seneca, another Stoic thinker, also warned against losing our peace to meaningless busyness. He said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." Seneca's version of wasting time might have been gossip or politics. Ours is scrolling, comparing, consuming. Different century, same trap. 2. The core Stoic principle: control. The Stoics believed that the key to peace lies in understanding one simple truth: there are things within your control and things beyond it. Epictetus, a former slave turned philosopher, taught this most clearly. Some things are up to us and some things are not. And this is where the wisdom of Stoicism meets the modern world perfectly. Because what is social media, really, if not a place filled with things we cannot control? We can't control how others look, what they post, or what the algorithm chooses to show us. We can't control likes, views, or validation, but we can control how we respond. That's the essence of Stoicism. Not escaping the world, but moving through it with clarity and choosing what deserves your energy. 3. What the Stoics would tell you today. If Marcus Aurelius lived in the age of Instagram, he'd probably remind us, don't waste time comparing your life to others. Live your own virtue. He'd scroll through a feed full of filtered lives and say, do not be disturbed by the things that are outside your mind. Remember, it's your judgment about them that hurts you, not the things themselves. Seneca would see our obsession with trends and followers and whisper, you act like mortals in all that you fear, and like immortals in all that you desire. Meaning, we act as if our time is endless when we waste it, and fragile only when we fear losing it. And Epictetus? He'd look at your phone and remind you, no man is free who is not master of himself. In other words, if your phone controls you, you're not free, no matter how advanced your device or how connected your network. 4. The Stoic vision of peace. For the Stoics, peace wasn't the absence of noise, it was the mastery of the mind within the noise. They lived in a world filled with distractions, temptations, and chaos, just as we do. But instead of escaping it, they trained themselves to focus only on what truly mattered. They practiced stillness, not as laziness, but as strength. They practiced reflection, not as overthinking, but as understanding. And they practiced discipline, not as punishment, but as liberation. When Marcus wrote his journal, he wasn't writing for fame. He was writing to remind himself to stay calm, grounded, and virtuous amid the storm. That's what Stoicism gives us today. Path back to ourselves. A reminder that peace isn't found in likes or followers. It's found in the quiet space between our thoughts, in the power to say, I don't need to react to everything. I can choose where my attention goes. 5. The modern meaning. Stoicism doesn't tell you to delete your apps or run from society. It teaches you how to live well inside it, to use social media without being used by it, to connect with others without losing connection to yourself, to be present, intentional, and free, even in a world built to distract you. Because true peace doesn't come from logging off. It comes from logging back in to yourself. Peace isn't somewhere out there. It's right here, once you stop giving it away. Part 3. How to practice Stoicism in the digital age. Knowing the Stoic principles is one thing. Living them, that's the real test. Philosophy to the Stoics was never just something to read about. It was something to do. So how do we practice Stoicism in an age where distraction is a business model? How do we apply these ancient ideas in a world where silence feels strange and stillness feels uncomfortable? Let's walk through it, step by step. Step 1. Awareness. See the machine for what it is. Before you can change your relationship with social media, you have to see it clearly. Every time you open an app, there's a system working behind the scenes, designed not to inform you, not to connect you, but to keep you hooked. The Stoics believed that wisdom begins with perception, with seeing reality as it truly is. Epictetus said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid with regard to external things." In other words, stop worrying about appearances. Start seeing things for what they are. That notification isn't an emergency. That like doesn't define your worth. That influencer's life isn't the whole truth. It's a performance. Once you understand this, you take the first step toward freedom. You no longer open your phone unconsciously. You open it with awareness. You start to notice your patterns. Why do I pick it up right now? What am I feeling when I scroll? What am I trying to avoid? Write it down. Observe without judgment. The Stoics journaled daily for this reason, to study their own minds, to track their reactions, to regain perspective. Step 2. Discipline. Build boundaries with technology. Once you see clearly, the next step is to build discipline, not punishment but boundaries. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. In today's world, your phone is an outside event. You can't control how many videos exist, but you can control how you interact with them. Start with simple rules. A no phone in the first 30 minutes after waking up. A no phone in the last 30 minutes before bed. Designate specific windows to check your apps and stick to them. This may sound small, but it's powerful. Because what you're really doing is retraining your mind to serve you, not your impulses. Every time you resist the urge to check your phone, you're strengthening the Stoic muscle of self-command. You're saying, "I am not a slave to this. I decide when and how to engage." That's freedom in action. Step 3. Intention. Consume with purpose. Seneca warned that the crowd can corrupt the soul. He wrote, "Associate with those who will make a better man of you." In the digital age, that advice means this: curate your feed like you curate your friends. Unfollow noise. Mute negativity. Choose to follow accounts, creators, and thinkers who bring you closer to wisdom, calm, and truth. If social media is a diet for the mind, then most of us are binging on junk food. The Stoic approach is to eat intentionally, to choose mental nourishment over mental sugar. Before you scroll, ask yourself, what do I want to feel right now? What am I feeding my mind with? That small question changes everything. Because when you consume with intention, social media becomes a tool, not a trap. Step 4. Reflection. Turn envy into action. One of the most dangerous emotions amplified by social media is envy. The Stoics knew this emotion well. Seneca wrote, "No man can be happy who is tortured by the success of others." When you see someone else succeed, the natural reaction is to compare. But the Stoic reaction, the trained, wise reaction, is to reflect. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this person's success? What actions can I take in my own life instead of sitting in envy? Turn comparison into curiosity. Turn jealousy into motivation. Every moment of envy is an opportunity to act, to become better rather than bitter. That's what Marcus Aurelius meant when he said, Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. Stop scrolling in resentment. Start living with purpose. Step 5. Presence. Reclaim the moment. The heart of Stoicism and the antidote to distraction is presence. The Stoics taught that happiness is found only in the now. The past is gone, the future uncertain. Only this moment is real. Seneca said it beautifully. True happiness is to enjoy the present, without anxious dependence upon the future. When you put your phone down, look around. Listen to the sounds of life, birds, people, wind, breath. Feel the world again. At first, it might feel uncomfortable, silence often does. But in that silence, something magical happens. You begin to hear yourself again. Your thoughts, your values, your direction. And that not likes, not views is what brings lasting peace. The Stoics didn't live to escape the world. They lived to master themselves within it. You can do the same. By practicing awareness, discipline, intention, reflection, and presence, you don't just use Stoicism. You live it. You stop being a consumer of noise and become a creator of calm. You stop chasing validation and start building virtue. And step by step, scroll by scroll, you begin to reclaim your most valuable resource, your peace of mind. Part 4. Integrating Stoicism into modern life. Practicing Stoicism isn't about escaping the world. It's about living better within it. It's not about building walls between yourself and society. It's about building strength within yourself, so that no noise, chaos, or storm can shake your peace. But let's be honest, the modern world is not built for stillness. It's built for speed, reaction, and reward. That's why integrating Stoicism into everyday life, into your work, your relationships, your choices, is both difficult and deeply transformative. Let's explore how Stoicism actually looks when you live it day by day. Step 1. At work, practicing Stoic excellence. Work is one of the best arenas to apply Stoic philosophy because it constantly tests your patience, ego, and endurance. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself every morning, "You will meet people who are meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, deceitful, envious, and unsocial. But they cannot harm you unless you allow them to." He wasn't preparing for a war. He was preparing for work. When you walk into your office, your studio, your meeting, remind yourself, "I am here to practice my principles, not to win every argument, not to prove my worth, but to do my job with integrity, focus, and calm." The Stoics called this arete, excellence of character. They believed the purpose of life is to live in accordance with virtue, wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. So, in your work, be wise, know what truly matters and what doesn't. Be courageous, speak truthfully, even when it's risky. Be just, treat others fairly, even when you gain nothing. Be temperate, don't let ambition or praise corrupt your peace. This is Stoicism at its purest form, quiet excellence. Step 2. In relationships, love without control. The Stoics were often misunderstood as cold or emotionless. But they weren't against love, they were against attachment without awareness. Epictetus taught, "When you kiss your child, say to yourself, 'Tomorrow he may die.'" To modern ears, that sounds brutal. But what he meant was this: love deeply, but remember impermanence. Cherish people not as possessions, but as gifts. Temporary, precious, beyond your control. In relationships, whether romantic, familial, or friendly, Stoicism teaches us to love without trying to own, to care without clinging, to listen without needing to be right. When someone disappoints you, remind yourself, they are acting according to their understanding, just as I act according to mine. That understanding turns resentment into compassion. The Stoic doesn't suppress emotion, they refine it. They learn to feel love more clearly, without fear or dependency. They learn to give freely, not because they expect something back, but because virtue itself is the reward. Step 3. With money, detachment, not denial. In a society driven by consumption, Stoicism offers a radical idea. You already have enough. Seneca, who was one of the richest men in Rome, still wrote, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor. Stoicism doesn't demand you reject success or wealth, only that you remain free from its control. Own your possessions, but don't let them own you. This means spend thoughtfully, not impulsively. Save because it's wise, not because you're afraid. Pursue success as a byproduct of integrity, not as a replacement for peace. The Stoic mindset transforms ambition into purpose. You work hard, but not to prove your value. You work because effort itself is noble. You enjoy the rewards, but you don't let them define who you are. When fortune changes, you remain the same. That's the true definition of wealth. Step 4. In stress and failure, turning setbacks into strength. One of the most powerful Stoic principles is amor fati, the love of fate. It means, don't just accept what happens. Embrace it. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "A blazing fire makes flame and brightness out of everything thrown into it." Whatever life throws at you, rejection, loss, failure, use it as fuel. Let it refine your character, not destroy your spirit. The Stoics believed that obstacles aren't interruptions to life. They are life. Every challenge is a test of the virtues you claim to hold. When things fall apart, ask yourself, what can I learn here? How can I respond with dignity? What would a wise person do in my place? Each time you practice this, your emotional resilience grows. You stop being reactive and start being reflective. You stop asking, why me? And start saying, try me. That's how Stoicism turns pain into power. Step 5. In daily living, simplicity as strength. In the end, Stoicism is a practice of simplicity, not just in possessions, but in thought and spirit. A Stoic morning doesn't begin with endless notifications. It begins with reflection. A Stoic evening doesn't end with doom scrolling. It ends with gratitude. You don't need to move to the mountains or renounce the world. You just need to live with clarity, to choose what you let in and what you let go of. Ask yourself each day, what is truly essential? What can I release? Who am I becoming through the things I do today? Because every moment, every choice, every reaction, every silence is shaping your soul. That's why Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. Be simple. Be strong. Be steady. Not in theory, but in the way you live. When you integrate Stoicism into modern life, you begin to notice something subtle but profound. You no longer need everything to go your way to be at peace. You find a deeper kind of freedom, one that doesn't depend on outcomes, approval, or control. You start to see life as the Stoics saw it, not as chaos to be feared, but as a classroom for the soul. Part 5. The Stoic Way Forward, Building a Resilient and Peaceful Mind. In a world that never stops moving, choosing to slow down is an act of courage. In a world obsessed with attention, choosing silence is an act of power. And in a world built to distract you, choosing presence is an act of rebellion. This is the Stoic Way Forward. Step 1. Rediscovering inner stillness. Stoicism doesn't ask you to stop living. It asks you to start living consciously. Every time you pause before reacting, every time you question your impulses, every time you refuse to be dragged by the noise, you're reclaiming your inner space. Marcus Aurelius called it the citadel within. A mental fortress no one can invade. Not social media, not criticism, not chaos. You might not control what happens outside, but you always control how deeply it reaches you inside. That's the quiet miracle of Stoic practice. You learn to remain calm not because life got easier, but because you became stronger. And that strength isn't loud. It's silent. It shows itself in the way you respond instead of react, in the way you breathe before speaking, in the way you can sit alone without needing noise to feel alive. Step 2. Turning practice into habit. It's easy to feel inspired by Stoicism. It's harder to live it. Because wisdom is not what you know. It's what you practice when things go wrong. You can read every quote by Seneca, Marcus, or Epictetus, but if you still lose yourself in comparison or react in anger, the philosophy stays on the page. So how do we make Stoicism part of who we are? Through repetition, through awareness, Through reflection. Start small. So when you feel envy, pause and remind yourself that someone else's success doesn't take away your path. But when you feel anger, breathe and remember that you control your response, not their behavior. When you feel fear, ask yourself, is this in my control? If not, release it. Each moment is a chance to practice. Each reaction is a test. Each test is a step toward peace. Over time, your default settings change. You stop seeking constant validation. You stop needing to win every argument. You stop letting every little thing disturb your calm. And then one day, without realizing it, you find yourself smiling at things that once would have ruined your day. That's when you know Stoicism is no longer just something you study, it's something you are. Step 3. Reframing the digital world. The truth is, we can't escape technology. The digital world is here to stay, and it's not the enemy. It's only a mirror, reflecting what's already inside us. Social media doesn't create envy, it reveals it. It doesn't create insecurity, it amplifies it. So the real work isn't deleting apps, it's disciplining the mind. Use social media consciously. Follow what inspires your growth, not what feeds your ego. Consume slowly, not compulsively. And most importantly, create more than you consume. Because when you create, you're expressing your nature. When you consume, you're borrowing someone else's. Be intentional, be aware, and remember what Epictetus said. If you want to be free, don't wish for things to happen as you wish, but wish for them to happen as they do. That includes the world we live in, screens, algorithms, and all. Don't curse it. Master yourself within it. Step 4. The freedom of acceptance. Every Stoic, from Marcus Aurelius to Seneca, understood a profound truth. Peace is not the absence of problems. Peace is the acceptance of them. We suffer most when we resist what is. We fight reality, we wish things were different, people were better, life was easier. But Stoicism teaches that the world will always be the world. Your power lies not in changing its nature, but in changing your relationship to it. Accept what comes. Love your fate, amor fati. When things go wrong, see it as a chance to grow. When people disappoint you, see it as a lesson in patience. When you lose something, remember, nothing truly yours can be taken from you. Freedom is not found in control. It's found in surrender, the wise kind. The kind that says, I will do my best, and let life handle the rest. Step 5. Living as a modern Stoic. So what does it mean, practically, to live as a modern Stoic? It means being awake in a sleeping world. It means holding peace in your hands while everyone else chases noise. It means showing strength not by dominating, but by staying calm when the world burns. Every day will test you. Every moment will try to pull you back into distraction and comparison. But every time you choose stillness, you reclaim a piece of yourself. Remember, you don't need to escape life to be free. You just need to meet it with awareness, virtue, and calm. As Seneca wrote, it is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. So don't waste yours in the endless scroll. Don't waste it comparing your journey to someone else's. Don't waste it waiting for peace. Create it, moment by moment. Final reflection. Maybe peace was never something to be found out there, not in likes, followers, or achievements. Maybe peace was something ancient, something already inside you, waiting to be remembered. The Stoics didn't promise a perfect life. They promised a meaningful one, a life lived with intention, clarity, and courage. And in a time when everyone is shouting to be heard, perhaps the most powerful thing you can do is to stay quiet and live well. If this message resonates with you, subscribe, and let's keep walking the Stoic path together. One thought, one breath, one peaceful moment at a time.